Hi, Vinay.
Hi, sir.
Vinay, can we start your interview?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, I hope you have prepared.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Vinay, let me start with a question. Can you explain me the last big data project you have actually worked on?
Okay. So, ours is a retail chain company. So we have done a project which is called. So we'll be. I'm working on the backside of the back end of the application. I mean, there is a project which we have done in the recent time, which is called as IDI IDI application, which is called as item data intake scenario based item data intake. So in this project, what we're actually trying to do is there is some new vendors putting their items to our which will be synced to our catalog. So how when the data is being sent by the vendor, we'll actually evaluate and visualize the data. There are many scenarios where we have visualized the data. Like, so consider we are onboarding a new item to our Lowe's. So what we are doing is a vendor fills in the data and he will send it to our one of the application. From that application, we'll take it like the data comes to our application. We visualize the data and we give some like visualization to merchants. Merchants are the Lowe's people. So I'll explain a few of the scenarios how we are visualizing the data.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
there is a new vendor who is coming to our who wants to sell his product in those. So he will put his all the information about the product and he will send it to one of the application. So the application will so the item which is being put into our application will be viewed by one of the merchants from the Lowe's to check whether the data is perfect or not. Based on that, he'll be like providing the information whether should we buy it or not, if the data is proper or not. If the data is not proper, we will send it back. So after the merchants decides it, he'll be pushing it to our system. So we take these kinds of data to do a visualization, like see whether what is the buying decision taken. Like there are many buying decisions, like whether he has to sell it in stores, as he wants to sell it online, wants whether he wants to send the product directly from the vendor to the customers, like the big items and all. So these kinds of data will be visualizing. So what the merchants, the Lowe's merchants wants to do with the buying decision, how many he has synced to our catalog, to our Lowe's catalog, whether he has rejected the product which is not proper, or whether the data is missing, so he has sent back the data back to the vendor. So these kinds of visualization we'll be doing. We'll be creating a data pipeline and will be visualizing and sending it to the merchants, so that they'll be, at any point of time, they'll have a clear information like how many millions of data is present, what is the buying decision taken, how many has failed, how many has been sent back to the vendor to fill in the information, how many data there is no buying decision taken. This kind of information will provide it to the uh, our merchants. So this is one of the scenario. There is one more scenario which is called as item smart pricing. So in this item smart pricing, the vendor sends in the data with the price. So the merchants decides what price we should sell in our Lowe's. So we'll be taking all the historical data, like what is the price which we have sold in each location. Like we have a field called as GLN, global location identifier. So with that data, like in US, there are many states. So in each state, what was the product which was like for how much price the product was sold, how many products were sold. Based on the previous data, we give a visualization to the merchants so that he can decide the price. So this is one of the scenarios what we
Okay,
have done.
good, good. Vinay, you just elaborated about your data pipeline architecture, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you just tell me what are the technologies you have used for building this data pipeline architecture?
okay, sure. So we have data which is coming from one of the application. So we have that source application. So we bring in the data from that application via Azure Topics to our HDFS. So in Azure, like whatever the data is being pulled from the data will come to our application and will be stored in HDFS. So once the HDFS, the data has been stored, we'll pull in the data to our Spark application. We'll do the visualization, and we'll send the data to the visualization for the Zipline, so that the visualization will be available.
Okay, so you get the data, the source for your data is from Azure, you get the data, right?
No, we get it from one of the third-party application. We get it via topics, Azure topics.
Okay.
They'll be pushing in the data via Azure topics.
Uh-huh.
There will be a streaming analysis done in Spark, and we'll store the data in our HDFS as well for further other scenarios to do the visualization. After the data has been streamed, manipulated, and the data will be sent to the visualization tool.
So what technologies you use here for message queuing?
For message queuing, we actually get the data from Azure topics. So we'll be taking the data from Azure topics, and we'll be connecting to the Spark.
Okay, so you get the data from Azure topics and you dump it into HDFS.
Yes.
You dump it into HDFS as a raw data, or you perform any kind of a transformations on your topics?
Yeah. So once we get from the data from topics, while putting the data, while storing the data to the HDFS, we'll be doing some transformation, like we'll be cleansing some data to make sure that we get proper kind of data. There'll be some missing data which we need to clear it out, and we'll be storing a few certain data which is required for the visualization, or maybe for performing the Spark.
Okay, Vinay, do you have any performance metrics which tells you how much of data is getting rejected or how much of data is invalid data? Do you have any kind of a performance measure which tells you that?
Uh, Actually, while intaking the data, we'll just see like if there are 10,000 data which is coming from Azure topics, we'll be doing a transformation, like we'll be cleansing the data. During that time, we'll get to know what are some junk data which we are
So finally, what are you doing with this junk data?
getting. Actually, to speak, we don't get the junk data, because those are all which are already cleansed and sent from the other application.
Okay, so you get the data which is cleansed data then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when you dump it into HDFS, you're dumping it to any table or you're dumping it to the normal file system?
We are dumping it to the normal file system. From there, we are picking the Spark. We are taking as an input to the Spark to do some analysis on that.
Okay, so in that case, you don't use Hive anymore in your product.
No.
Was there any reason not using Hive and executing all the queries on Spark?
Since Hive is again a map reduced thing. So as of now, we are getting a source from Azure topics. Later, at some point, we have to take it from one of the cloud-based Mongo application from Azure Mongo Cosmos DB. Since we can't pull in the data directly from Azure Cosmos, so we have picked up Spark, because again, if you want to put it in Hive, again we have to stream the data to our Hive tables. Then we have to analyze the data using the Hive. Here, if since we are having Spark, it can be directly pulled in from the Cosmos DB from Azure. And also the performance of Spark is better than the Hive. So, which we have, choose Spark.
Okay. Okay. Vinay, can you just tell me what are your roles and responsibilities as part of this data pipeline architecture? Which particular layer you were involved in?
So, we'll be so as part of mine, I'll be working on pulling in the data from Azure, uh, storing the required fields to the HDFS, to the file system, and creating a Spark ecosystem to get the data which could be fed to the visualization. So I'll be working on this.
So you get different kinds of data, is it? Or it
Uh,
is?
as of now, we are getting from one source. So at the later point, there is one more system which they'll be adding. So there the data goes to Cosmos, Azure Cosmos. So from that also we need to create a data pipeline.
Okay. Now, what is the volume of data you get, Vinay, in your product?
As of now, For a year, we get around 4 million data.
So how long you're storing your data on your data warehousing systems?
It will be like it will be forever. Like every year the data comes in, so there'll be new product which is be added, or there'll be some products which will be made changes. So the data will be coming like always. So we have to take the historical data to do some decision based thing. So we are storing the data, all the data into our HDFS. That is why we have taken HDFS, since we need to store it for a long time, and huge data will be present.
Vinay, don't you think if you store the data for lifetime, what you told,
Okay.
don't you think there is a bottleneck with in terms of cluster size? How are you dealing with that?
So as the data increases, we'll be adding more clusters. As of now, we are having 10 clusters in our for storage in HDFS.
So you have provided any kind of a configuration or a framework to auto scale, or is it manual activity as part of your product deployment?
As the data increases, we'll manually increase the number of clusters, like number of nodes in the cluster.
So there is an human intervention there to increase the number of nodes, is it?
As of now, we have not yet automated, so
Okay.
we'll be increasing the number of nodes manually.
Okay.
Later, since this is an on-premises no like cluster, so we are actually adding the nodes manually.
Vinay, can you tell me the technologies you have used? I wanted to know that.
We are using Spark as well as Java.
Okay. How about Scala, Vinay?
Yeah, Spark and Scala. Yeah, Scala is the programming language which we use to write to for the Spark application.
Okay. So for this data pipeline thing, you have used which technology, which
We have
programming
used
language?
Java, like while getting
Okay.
the data from Azure Topics and storing it to the HDFS.
Okay. Vinay, can you just tell me about the deployment procedures in your product? How do you deploy your product actually?
Okay, so once the development has been done, code will be pushed to the repo. Once the code is pushed to the repo, we have a Jenkins job, which helps us to trigger and build the jars, available jars, and that will help us to push the code even to the servers. They have configured the Jenkins job.
So you have a complete DevOps lifecycle integrated as part of your product, Vinay?
Yeah, we have we are manually pushing the code. From there, we need to trigger the Jenkins job. So from there, it's like automated process to build the image as well as to push the push the jar to the server.
Okay, good. Okay, Vinay, can you just tell me about the hardware configuration of your cluster?
Okay, we have a master node, which is the like we have one a name node, and we have a secondary name node and a standby name node. The master, name node has uh, 32 GB RAM. It has 1 TB of SSD hard disk. It is a CentOS. It has a OS of CentOS, and it has okay RAM. It has 1 TB hard disk, and it is on a CentOS. Uh,
Now, what kind of a hard disk, Vinay, is that about?
it's a SSD hard disk.
Why SSD, Vinay? Why not normal hard disk?
So
What is the reason behind choosing SSD?
SSD is more performant. Like the normal hard disk, it takes 100 MB per second, but SSD takes around does the read and write operation like IO operations perform much faster than the normal hard disk.
Okay, so you meant with normal hard disk, the read and write is a little slower when compared to SSD.
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's it on that. So the
right.
name node and the secondary node, like the standby name node, has the same configuration, but secondary name node has a 16 GB RAM and 1 TB SSD hard disk and a CentOS. The data nodes is having 2 GB of memory. Not 2 GB. It's 8 GB RAM and 12 GB SSD hard disk, which has a 10 cluster.
So this is for all deployment you have, or it is only a customer specific deployment you have configuration?
Yeah, as the customer specific, like whenever there is a requirement change and when there's huge data coming in, we'll be adding the nodes as well, and there'll be some changes in the configuration.
As part of your product, who will be doing all these things with? Is it part of the development team, or is there any dedicated team who is responsible of doing the scaling and all?
Scaling, we have admin, like a Hadoop admin, so he takes care of scaling. But in the test environments, our lead does it, and we also are aware of what is the configuration and how we are doing it.